Welcome to this edition of At the Mic. I'm your host, Keith Malinak, asking you to please continue to keep Dave and Faith Matthews from American Pride Roasters Coffee in your prayers as they continue to rebuild following the devastating tornado that took everything from them in March. When they're back on their feet and open for business again over at APR Coffee, we will be sure to let you know. Until then, please continue to keep Dave, Faith, and the APR Coffee team in your prayers.
You're listening to At the Mic with Keith, an independent podcast production.
My friend Brocka is my guest today on At the Mic. She is always looking for her next challenge. And today we talked about what she's accomplished, what she's doing now, and what may be next. We start that conversation right now on At the Mic.
Hello.
Like, it's just Brocka, right?
It is just Brocka.
It's singular, like you are the artist known as Brocka.
Pretty much.
I should try to... Are there any other Keiths in this world?
There is one that I know of.
So you know of another Keith? So
yeah, and he did not like his name.
I don't like my name either.
Really? It's a good name.
No.
Okay.
No. And yes, my mom will listen to this podcast and she will be saddened by this, but no, it's not.
And my father will listen to this and probably think, why did she leave out her last name?
That's awesome. So you were born and raised here in Dallas.
Yes, Dallas proper, like right off of Central 75, right by SMU.
So, I mean, that is the heart of Dallas, Texas.
It is the heart. It is the beating heart.
So, is it fair to say you're a city girl?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because you never lived in the suburbs, right?
No, I have not. But, family is from country land. So did that as a kid growing up. The horseback riding and the, cow herding and all of the good stuff.
So you've got the Texas experience because the cities, Dallas, especially Houston, they're not that...
They're not like Fort Worth.
Right. So people come to... And with Fort Worth, they have catered to their identity.
Absolutely.
In Fort Worth. Like,
absolutely.
All the tourist stuff in Fort Worth is geared toward we are Texas.
That's why it's called Cowtown.
Cowtown, that's right.
There you go.
But these urban places like Dallas and Houston, that could be anywhere, really.
Yeah, general metropolis.
Well, then that's good that you were able to escape the city somewhat to at least experience the state.
Well, I would say like any major city, there are so many characters in different neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And so... I actually went to junior high and high school in East Dallas, which is very lower socioeconomic, Mexican gangs.
Oh, wow.
Just a little hardcore.
So you got some street cred.
I have some street cred. Oh, boy.
You're an only child.
I am an only child.
Like myself.
Yeah.
Benefits and drawbacks.
Yes.
When you look back at your no sibling experience, are you happy with that, or do you wish you had siblings?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Even when I was a little kid, I didn't much care for being around other little kids. So I've always enjoyed my loner status.
Okay.
In a way.
Your third birthday party, I think, was your earliest memory, right?
Yes, and it was slightly traumatizing. An 80s child, so I grew up with E.T.,
Nice.
And my parents thought that an E.T.-themed birthday would be exciting. So
Boy, it's tough to pull off.
Not only the cake and the balloons and everything thematic, but there was an E.T., a costumed person.
Oh, no.
And a large alien.
Oh, no.
So
all
of the 3-year-olds were traumatized. Yeah. It was like...
So was it a house full of screaming, crying kids? And
well,
everyone
they eventually ran out to the backyard. So I have these pictures. It's just like an exodus to the backyard. And I'm sitting in this like really plastic rink-a-dink swing set. And I'm holding on to dear life on the swing set. Like, please don't come out here.
Right.
Don't come near me.
Didn't have the E.T. voice like the alien.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm sure that I'm sure he was going full tilt on the experience. So
what motivated you to graduate high school at age 16?
Well, I sort of prefaced that with the fact that I went to a high school that was eclectic and eclectic. So, I can say, oh yeah, I graduated at 16 and that implies that I may have been smart, but actually it was just a determination to get out of that environment. And I have a summer birthday, so I was really close to being 17 anyhow.
Okay.
But all I did essentially was double up on the requirements and get rid of all my electives. So I only had one elective, which was French. And
I didn't know you could do that. Not that I wouldn't have even attempted it, but
Yeah.
I didn't even know in high school, I mean, maybe it's different in Georgia, that you could speed up the process
Well,
like
now
that.
they have AP classes
Yeah,
that are sort
that's-
of like
okay,
pre-credits to college. So I would take like a basic history and then the AP history.
Wait a minute.
You
Wait
know.
a minute.
I know, it was wild.
But I took AP stuff in high school, and I remember starting at level 0 when I got to college.
It's a complete ripoff.
Did I forget to-
That's why we're having this debate about, freaking college debt.
Well, okay, yeah, but hold on. Now I'm upset because I'm
You're
thinking.
like, I was gypped, man.
I'm like, yes, I was in school longer than I needed to be. In
Exactly.
college, longer than I needed to be.
Well, a lot of things.
Those didn't transfer. No one asked me. No one told me. Oh my
know.
gosh,
You needed a better counselor. That's what you needed. High
that's-
school counselors
Oh,
is where
okay.
it's at, man.
All right. I
So-
don't even remember having a high school counselor. Maybe that's the issue.
Yeah.
I remember my college counselor was garbage, and then after the first semester, I changed.
Oh, they're just, I have
This is-
trauma
I
about
am-
school.
Right, and we're gonna totally get back to the questions
Yes.
about you, but right now I'm going through something.
Yeah.
I am going through something right
Let's
now.
process this.
I'm trying to think of how many credit hours I got screwed out of.
Or that you had to pay for later in college that you
Thank
could
you,
have
parents.
taken
Thank you, Mom.
in high school. Yes. English, AP English.
Okay, this is not sitting
algebra,
well with me.
all of it.
We should talk about you right now.
Okay, that's fine. Well, what also segued into my wanting to leave school early is that I had, by some fortunate circumstance, become a people-to-people student ambassador.
Okay.
And went to Australia and New Zealand.
Before they were penal colonies again.
Exactly. So I did homestays in each of these places, and I did these when I was 15. So I had this itch, I had this bug, and an anxiousness. And again, I was only taking French as my elective. So then the French group, when they graduate, the senior class goes to Paris. And I wasn't at that level of my French, but because I was graduating, my French teacher was like, sure, come along. So I was the youngest on that crew. So had that experience and was just anxious to move on through life and just get out of high school and get to the next phase. So I got back from Europe and was thinking, oh, I'm too young to go to college yet, so I want to get a trade. And so I went to massage school.
Okay.
And then I went to SMU, and when I was living at SMU, I was working at a hair salon doing massage therapy. So I already felt like I was just living the more mature, focused life, and the SMU environment did not suit me. There was a lot of sorority and party and
Right.
drinking, and I wasn't even into drinking. I don't think I really had a cocktail at a bar till I was like 23. So the whole, we have just now been freed for the first time from our parents and we're going to go crazy. I did all that stuff in high school and was around a lot of it as far as drugs and gangs and just hardcore stuff that I was already over and
Right.
matured out of by that point.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. And I was not in a gang. I did
Oh,
not,
no,
did not
no.
do hard
We got to
drugs.
see you flash your gang signs
Yeah,
here.
exactly. There was just a lot of stuff that compounded to facilitate me getting out of that high school environment pretty quickly.
Yeah, I want to talk about your specialty dessert business.
Okay, yeah.
What
well,
was that?
just to the whole domino effect of life,
Yeah.
you're standing at one place and whatever you're doing sort of falls and segues into the next. And even when you don't have any plan, it lines up really well and you keep progressing through life, essentially.
cool.
So the massage therapy segued into the whole healthy lifestyle around that, which is the eating well, going to the gym.
Yeah.
My SMU roommate was a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, so she was already into the fitness and.
What was her name?
that-
She might have been a previous guest on this.
Oh
show.
no, Amber Strasser. She was one of the few redheads. Anyhow, she's in Vegas now.
Okay.
So professional dancing and so forth.
Wow.
either way, so it was just the healthy fitness lifestyle, bodybuilding, physique modeling. And in that environment, you're on a really restrictive diet, obviously.
Like what would a typical meal be for you back in the day?
Well, I will say this. The leanest I've ever been, I was 7% body fat and was just solid core muscle, is also when I ate the most carbohydrates.
What?
Yes.
How does that work?
Because you're just burning so many calories. And you're burning through your glycogen stores every time you work out.
Oh, when
the
you work
protein
out.
is essentially.
See, you got to work out to get the carbs off. But
the thing is, the more muscle mass you have, the more calories you're burning at rest. So you don't even have to be working out. You just have so much muscle mass that it's burning a lot of calories, even while you're sitting on your butt, essentially. So the protein is there just to keep the muscle mass, but the carbs are there for the calories. Just because you need the calories. So a typical day is, oatmeal, sweet potato, lots of good hearty grains like brown rice.
But we've got a big box of goodies.
Of cookies that have processed sugar and corn syrup.
Yeah, a listener sent these. And you're telling me that the double stuffed Oreos, the peanut butter Captain Crunch, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Cap'n Crunch.
There we go.
Right, the Sour Patch Kids. And I mean, I'm looking at a large box full of those goodies. You're telling me that's not gonna get you fit?
It's not quality calories, as I would say.
Quality.
But perfect segue because I wanted sweets.
Yeah.
I wanted dessert.
Right. I mean, there's cookies sitting in front of you on this table right now.
So what had to happen is I had to figure out a way to create those. And this was before everybody was on the gluten-free craze or vegan, or you could walk into Whole Foods and you had so many packaged variety options. So this was 15 years ago. I essentially spent thousands of dollars throwing stuff in the trash can, experimenting on gluten-free vegan baking. Because baking is a chemistry. And to make a long story short, I had a dessert business for vegan, gluten-free people in Dallas, Fort Worth. And it lasted for about 6 years. I was one of the very first gluten-free vegan wedding cakes that were available. And I would deliver all the way out into Fort Worth. I had a lot of clients there. I delivered to coffee shops. I delivered wholesale to this low-carb store at the time.
Do you have a lot of, because my wife has become very proficient at these gluten-free recipes and stuff like that.
Well, now you go.
So do you have like a whole bunch of good stuff that you could like share recipes or something, or no?
Yeah, I actually have. When I shut everything down, I sold boxes of all of my cake supplies and stuff to a cake teacher decorator in Fort Worth. So I got rid of pretty much everything, even my big KitchenAid mixer. I was just so burnt out and over it at that point.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
Because it seems like, and I don't know, what time frame are we talking here? What
We're
years?
talking about 2004 to 2010.
It seems like right after you gave up on it is when the market really started to explode.
Yeah, I have that problem, is that I'm ahead of the curve a few times. I have that in my track record.
Oh, no.
So I tend to, I don't know if I'm just ahead of the curve and then I leave too quickly. So that's something that I'm dealing with. I just need to, that's a personal thing. Yeah. I need to stay the course when I figure out what's going on.
That's good.
Food profit is such a slim margin, and I was a one-man operation. And doing this in my kitchen, you're standing all day.
Yeah.
And it wears on you. And then preceding that, I had already been a massage therapist, which is more physical labor.
Well, the hands were always sore, weren't they?
Well, you learn how to push from your legs. I mean, you're using more lower body to push, and so you don't wear out your hands and your thumbs.
That's like a neat little trick there.
Yeah, but in the interim, I worked for a homeopathic doctor in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. She had this sort of big bed and breakfast place that people would come that were
You moved
ill.
up there then?
Yeah, I moved up there.
We got to talk about that town. I have an obsession with that town, and I've never been there.
So gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is so gorgeous. There's a lot of things going wrong with it, but Just some white supremacy stuff. There's some, that little thing.
Look. The panhandle of Idaho is a fixer-upper. I mean, you got a few issues here and there, like white supremacy.
Yeah,
what was
exactly.
That? Sorry.
Exactly. So, no, I worked for her, and people would come there that were quite ill, and it was a complete detox environment.
Oh, wow.
And so I did massage therapy, lymphatic drainage. We had oxygen chambers. We did gallbladder flushes and liver flushes.
Oh, wow.
So there was a woman there that baked for the bed and breakfast, and she's the one who taught me initially the gluten-free vegan baking. Okay. So when I came home and started my own thing, that's how it really started. Was from that environment. But yes, Coeur d'Alene is beautiful. Mm-hmm. Just this one anecdote. A crowd of us went to an Olive Garden to eat, and we were the ones who were working there, so we weren't on this very strict diet. Anyway, we'd pull up to the Olive Garden, and there's just this crowd, a huge family, maybe 3 families, and they each have 6 to 10 kids, and they're all in their like pinafores that match with the matching bonnets. I mean, it was just this huge Amish crowd.
Wow, I would have never thought that Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I wouldn't have thought that either, but it was just, it felt like you were stepping back in time in a way. So I know you from your writing I just think you're an exceptional writer. Thank you. I appreciate it. No, I've been trying to find a niche that both suits me and is attractive to people that don't have a lot of time.
I mean, it's the perfect description here. It says, I write for deep thinkers with little time. I mean, that is awesome. Well, how'd you come up with that description? That's perfect.
Because I noticed that everything I was writing, I would first put it on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn's artificial intelligence immediately tells you if this is 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5-minute read. And I realized I was writing things under 5 minutes. And I thought, nobody has time anymore. Everybody is sensory overloaded. So that's one hook. Yeah. And then I go back and forth between telling a little story. I have lots of wild personal stories.
It's heavy stuff, too.
And then also just deep thinking. Yeah. Things that I would say we generally bring up at dinner conversations, but don't happen in just casual dialogue.
I think you do a great job. While we're talking about it, like what's the website people can go to check out your reading?
Like iPhone, except for Brocka. So you just spell my name, ibrocka.com.
BROCKA.com. Okay.
And there are links to my music, which we will get to as well.
Excellent segue. That's what I was going to bring up, because you've also done singing. Do you still currently record stuff?
I do not.
Okay.
But the music was a major bucket list of mine. When I was in elementary school, I always had people over, all the way from elementary school to high school. I always had the parties at my house on the weekends because my mother was very free spirit and allowed, an eclectic mix of people around. Anyhow, I always performed for my friends. I would stand up in the living room at some point in the evening. And so in elementary school, it was Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey and all of the 80s big singers. And then by freshman year of high school, it was Sarah McLachlan and Natalie Merchant. And then by the time I graduated, it was the Fugees, Lauryn Hill, got into the hardcore stuff. So, no, I was just always performing. And I always wrote poetry. That whole coffee shop vibe before Starbucks was around. So we had a lot of our independent coffee stores in Dallas.
And you've done this. I mean, you've recorded, you performed in front of audiences. How is it singing in your living room? How does that compare to singing in front of like a crowded theater?
Oh, it's an energy thing. It's a complete energy thing. So the more people, they're just feeding, and then they're projecting that anticipation, and you just have the excitement. You've got your own nerves. It's thrilling. I had never really done it before until I did it the first time, which is a lot of our first time experiences. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so nervous. I'm going to stutter or stumble or something. And I was in a zone. I was completely cool, almost like time stopped. So yeah, the music production was a bucket list goal. Closed down the dessert business. And that was a big turning point because I just thought, I'm going to throw my time and money into this, and went up to Septian Studios, which is famous. Linda Septian, she does all the Kids Bop. She's got like Demi Lovato.
Right.
A lot of those Nickelodeon people came through Linda Septian's studio to get their performance training before they would go to Hollywood. So she is sort of that middle person. And so I made a plan. I went in there. I went to her office. I said, this is what I want to do. Don't have any professional experience. So I'm going to spend 6 months on voice lessons. And then I'm going to sit down with whomever I find that I have a comfortable working relationship with out of all your producers and knock this out. So worked with 2 different guys. I worked with her son, Remington, he's a guitarist, bass guitar, drums, everything. Another producer here in town, Jonathan Camacho, he has his own creative studio now. Just did an EP, so that's six songs, and then found other producers over time that I worked with on individual singles. But yeah, when I first started and first put it out, I performed around Deep Ellum for a while, did a few different places there, the Lizard Lounge. I did Poor David's Pub off of Lamar. Ended up at Denton, did the music festivals up there.
Oh, wow, okay.
So
where can people find your music? Is it also
iTunes, Spotify, Amazon?
So you recorded effectively this album.
Yes.
This EP, right? Was there any plan to do something further with that, or was it just I got to get this out of my system?
Yes and yes. So what happened is after the experiences of the music, I will say one of my most embarrassing experiences, I think, was at Poor David's Pub, and I was performing and the microphone came out of the stand, and that's fine. I've got quick reflexes, so I'm grabbing it and you just keep going. And then the cord comes loose, and it was just one comedy of errors after the...
Feels like sabotage.
It almost was. So
oh, no.
It was crazy. Anyhow, I made my way through it, but it was pretty mortifying. And I thought to myself, I was sitting in the parking lot afterwards, and I thought to myself, that just felt like glorified karaoke. I mean, it was so terrible. Where I'm just singing over this piped in, and the whole experience was something I didn't want to experience again. And so I just kind of took a breather and started thinking about, I know this is part of the process of being an artist. You go through all of these experiences to hone the craft. But I did not want to be a starving artist. Again, it's another one of those, like the food business, the profit margin is so slim. You don't make money on music streams. You make it only on live concerts, on selling tickets and touring. Because everything's free now. You can download everything for free.
Yeah, how much would you get, like, if someone streamed a song of yours on, say, Spotify?
Nothing.
Really?
Yeah, nothing. It's buying the whole EP download.
That's where you
but again, there's no money there. It's all in concert ticket sales.
Yeah.
So that's why all of these recording artists that had to essentially start performing on YouTube when COVID hit, just so they could keep the subscription numbers, because that's where the money is.
Wow.
And I was having this moment where I'm like, I don't want to be a starving artist. So I kind of panicked myself into a job. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a responsible citizen again. Like, I need to make some money now that I just spent a lot on this project. So that...
Well, at least you got to experience it, though.
Well, yeah.
Now you don't have to spend the rest of your life saying, what if?
Regretting, exactly. And I still have so much acquired music written that if I want to do it again, I still have the connections. I still have the network. I might get back there just again as another personal project.
Okay. Well, after, we've gotten to know you over the last half hour or so, it may seem unusual for me to say this, that the biggest influence in your life, right, biggest impact in your life was Dennis Prager.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's not the answer I would have expected. He's a political talk show host.
Based out of LA.
Yeah, and an author. Yeah. And so you listen to you, and And I should have set up the question. She's been like, all right, everyone, guess who has had the biggest impact on her life? They would have probably thought, something artsy, some singer, some musical artist. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
So
this is how it happened.
Okay, tell us.
The beginning of the dessert business experimentation, standing in the kitchen. I did not have a TV in my apartment. I always had a radio. I always listened to AM radio. And
that was me growing up.
Here we go. Yes. So, and that brings us full circle to the studio we're in, because I listened to an entire lineup from morning till evening, and it was Glenn Beck, Michael Medved, Dennis Prager, Laura Ingraham, Hugh Hewitt. Late at night, it was Michael Savage. Oh, wow. It was just the whole slew.
Yeah.
I mean, it represented the whole pendulum of conservative thinkers. And Dennis Prager was my absolute favorite, because he has, I haven't listened to him in years, but he has, in the 5 days a week, different themes for different hours on certain days. And Friday afternoon at noon was the happiness hour. And he believes it's a moral obligation to be a happy person because it makes the world a better place. And I could not agree with that more. In those years, I learned so much, just conservative thought, values.
Like, had you grown up in a conservative environment?
No.
Any kind of political environment whatsoever?
No. My environment was very free spirit and very open and unrestrictive, very undisciplined. I had to, in a lot of ways, raise myself. The mentoring that I had lost in some ways, I found through conservative talk radio. And so when people crap on it, I have a hard time, because they're not giving it its due. There are awful thought leaders in every area of life. There are bad people in every career path. You know, there are good lawyers, there are bad lawyers. There are corrupt people in every industry. And if you take one snippet or one line or one thought and try to blanket that whole movement or the entire person, is what we are doing now and experiencing with cancel culture, you don't get the quality. And so I did a lot of growing up through that education. And so one of your questions, we were talking before this, and we were talking about celebrity and so forth. This is something my mother knew about me. She was like, you could meet a famous person as far as TV or, actor or singer, famous person, and nothing about your disposition would change. But she said, the first time I saw you interact with Dennis Prager, you were like, you had met a rock star. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, she was like, we get in the car, because we went to the sit-down dinner, and I met up with Dennis Prager afterwards, and he signed a book and so forth. So we get in the car, and my mom's like, oh my gosh, you were like he was a rock star.
That is so
just
funny.
the way it was like, because he is to me.
That's cool.
And that's what I value, not the other pop culture and Instagram influencers that we have now. So people that just pick one thing and stick with it, that's admirable. You've made a decision and you've stayed the course. You know who you are. It says something about perseverance during hardship,
Yeah.
in any line of work.
Is there anything that you've done that you might want to go back to, or something that you still want to try that you could see yourself giving more of a long-term commitment to?
I think there is always room for improvement. I would certainly, and I say this as a broad, about myself.
What would you, if you went back to get like a typical degree, what would you major in?
That's it. What is the point now?
Well, let's figure this out. This can be like a therapy session.
Therapy session.
Okay, so what do you enjoy doing? And do you want to be successful, or do you want to make money? Or
The question is, what will you stay the course with?
And so far, I'm not sure.
That's the personality thing. I'm just so interested in so much. So I find particular things and delve into them. And then, okay, I've learned that. I'm ready to move on. Like, one of my personal things that I'm proud of is my interest in the history of the Crusades. And I spent probably 2 years reading books and listening to podcasts and just throwing myself into that one interest. And I'm like, okay, that's fun dinner conversation category. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Because I know you're big into historical fiction.
I love history.
What if you wrote like historical fiction books? I mean, granted, you still gotta.
Well, that is the next bucket list.
Is it really?
Is not historical fiction, but
write a book.
Write a book. I've got a couple book ideas.
But the trick is you got to put food on the table while you're engaged in this
project. So that's why I need more blog readers so I can start running ads on my blog and the writing can start paying for itself.
Brocka.com.
Thank you, sir.
The letter I, Brocka.com.
And listeners, you would be glad to know I don't have any pop-ups. There's not even a newsletter pop-up. No, that is one thing. It is so annoying. I think if I can organically grow without annoying people with a pop-up that says, please sign up to my newsletter. You know what? If you're smart enough, you can scroll down to the bottom of the blog or you can look to the right of the blog page and put your email address in there. I don't need to prompt you with a little pop-up that everybody hates.
Yeah, and somewhere, I'm the same way. I'm a terrible salesman.
I am a terrible salesperson.
Right?
My gosh.
I can't sell myself. I can't. I'm like you. And somewhere on atthemikeshow.com, I seriously have no idea where it is. There's a place to sign up for an email list.
Yeah.
And like it says, like I won't spam you. I won't do. You know why I won't spam you or
because
bug
I
you? Because
haven't even generated the email newsletter.
Like I have no idea how to even send you something. Let me see here. So I'm looking at themikeshow.com and I'm scrolling around. I have no idea where on here you're supposed. No blog story. I have no idea. Somewhere you can sign up for a newsletter.
Yeah,
that I haven't
but
created.
here again, just wrapping full circle.
Yeah.
People have too much going on in their lives,
Which goes back to the perfect descriptor for your
blog.
site. I write for deep thinkers with little time.
So, and here's my hook: is I try to have a little personal story because that is the best way to transfer knowledge, transfer morals, transfer a big theme, is being relatable. And so having a story, even whether it's funny, self-deprecating, or sad, or anything, just get people hooked on a story and then wrap it up with a larger theme. So, and again, under 5 minutes. Most of them are 3 because you don't have time and I don't have time. So, but it's not a matter of time because we make time for what is priority. It's actually a matter of sensory overload and that people don't know where to focus their time.
Yeah.
And that's a personal choice. So that's, again, values and morals.
I spend all of my available free time editing this podcast. That's literally, that's my free time.
That's probably why I am so far removed from culture is because I don't stream anything.
Right. If it's not
don't,
sports.
Well, I don't have a Netflix account. I watched a movie on Amazon Prime a couple nights ago for the first time in like 3 months.
Right. I don't even know what a movie is anymore.
What? Yeah. I went to one movie during COVID in the last 2 years, and it was so terrible. It was the Wes Anderson one. It's just so, speaking of sensory overload, it was so obnoxious.
Oh, my.
I can't even remember the title of it. The French Dispatch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Haven't heard of that.
Yeah. It's nothing to comment on, so let's move on.
Okay, so here's something to comment on. I've got to ask you, when you grew up with a dog, it was an albino Doberman.
He is a story.
What is an albino Doberman, and what was the dog's name?
Simon. Because Simon says he was the alpha of the house, me and my mother. Just me and my mother.
Yeah.
We got him when he was about 6 months old, and he had been tied up to a tree that had ant beds all around it. So he could only get so far.
Wait, how old was he?
6 months.
6 months old.
So he was a little tiny, scrawny thing. So not a proponent of committing crimes, but somebody jumped over a fence and abducted him from this terrible home environment that he was in, where He could not get to water because his chain was so short. He could not get away from these ant beds. So he was brought to my house. I was always raised to treat animals like you would a small toddler child.
Amen.
So we got little Tylenol chewables. We got itching cream, Benadryl itching cream, cleaned him up.
So he was just eaten up.
Yeah, his whole belly was just red marks from the ants. So just nurtured him for a good couple of months, and then he was the man of the house after that. And we had him for 12 years. Just pale blue, icy eyes, really pale blonde fur. We had to put SPF on him during the summer because he would burn.
Oh my gosh.
But he was a beautiful dog, the smartest dog. He would try to speak in full sentences. He would come up to you and move his mouth, and you could see the frustration in his eyes because words were not coming out, and he just needed you to understand.
Seriously.
Why aren't you taking care of things? So,
Wow.
no, he ran that house. That was great.
Yeah, I'm seeing what a beautiful. I'm looking up albino Dobermans.
He was such a beautiful dog. Yeah.
That's great. Well, congratulations on
that
saving him.
experience.
I mean, I just want to point out that to make it clear to the authorities who may be listening, Brocka, her mom, they didn't steal the dog.
No.
Somebody
no.
else stole it, and they just said, "Oh my gosh, I guess we better take care of this dog." That is...
He just showed up on our front door. Yeah, just showed up on our front door without anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Like a stork, dropped him off.
Right. Your favorite app is Instagram. You love the interior design accounts on there.
Yes, that would be a whole other thing that one would be interested in.
So here's what I'm getting at. Have you thought of maybe a career in interior design?
I think that would be dealing with too many people,
Right,
too many personalities.
You would have a different vision than the person that's paying for it.
Different jobs require interacting with different personalities, and working in somebody's home is a very personable experience. And what I might like for myself, I'm just not gonna browbeat somebody or,
Right.
During the first year of COVID, when I was sort of browsing jobs on LinkedIn, I did consider a couple interior design jobs.
See?
And thought, oh, this is creative, this is fun. But you get into it and it's not really what you think it's going to be. It's not like, let's go pick out some pillows and put it on this couch and put these colors together or these textures together. I think I would lose interest pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, but I just like the visual aesthetics. That's why my Instagram feed is predominantly interior design. I'm a clean minimalist.
Yeah. You're not
yeah.
sentimental at all.
No, not terribly.
So
I'm not. I don't have lots of knickknacks and stuff sitting around my house.
Okay, so you need to declutter.
It's more like a museum.
I'm gonna need to see. This is what you do.
Yeah.
Because I just had an idea. I'm coming up with career paths for you. So follow me here. Because I need you to help declutter my life. I mean, there are boxes.
Yes, I love it.
Right, so,
I love throwing out. I really do.
Right. Okay. Somebody like me who has boxes and boxes of
accumulated history
that I have moved from. My gosh, I mean, this is how far back you want to go? Nebraska to Atlanta to Houston.
And also you have built a family in this time, which
South Carolina,
which adds more stuff.
To New York, then to Dallas.
Because you keep their memories.
Right.
And you keep their nostalgia.
That's true.
That's why families have garages full of boxes and Tupperware of stuff that they've forgotten about.
And then, congratulations, kids. One day when I'm dead and gone, you get to go through it.
Sad segue. That is the biggest thing that happened to me in the last almost 2 years now. I lost my mother and my grandmother.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So right when Dallas was going into COVID lockdowns. And I had to go through their stuff.
Yeah.
And
challenging.
But you just said it. I'm not a particularly sentimental person.
Yeah,
and
so how did you do that?
Mother saved my everything of mine.
And you had no idea, or did you?
Well, some of the stuff, but it was like, coloring books or just all these reports that I had written or school stuff. And like, this is, I would just carry out boxes of stuff to the trash can.
Oh my.
And didn't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Like, I can take a picture of that with my iPhone, and now I have documentation of it. It's
Until
scanned.
okay.
And it's automated.
Until Apple
And it
cancels
removes-
you or an
I know.
EMP hits.
Or no, we bust out of the iCloud and go to the metaverse.
Oh, no. I'm not going anywhere.
I'm staying put right here.
So you could do something with this, see?
Well,
But that's just it. I wouldn't let you throw away the stuff that I've saved for my kids. So
oh no. And there's a way to consolidate these things though. There's a way to scan or itemize or downsize,
see, no, okay. No, we're really honing this in.
organize.
You need to offer digitization.
Digitization. Can we say that word?
Digitization services.
No, I am seeing how this is all coming full circle.
Yeah.
Because my nature is helping people and healing in my past with the fitness and the massage and then the foods, the dessert business, and now my current job, I am working for a family in Highland Park in their home, private family business. I mainly do financials and taxes and
Okay.
oh boy, it's tax season right now. But the point is, the full circle is that I do go into people's lives and straighten things up. And it's from a good place. It's like a healthy, healing, wholesome, organic thing.
Brocka's I'm gonna not say it anymore. I can't say.
There's no. We've got to come up with something.
Okay, hold on.
That's what is it? Alliterative.
Yeah. Brocka's.
No, I've had jobs where I've worked as personal assistant in people's homes and took on one role, and it manifested into a more integrated into their entire lives kind of role.
Well, there's something here.
And so I have harnessed all of these things in my history and put them into one full package deal.
See,
and so people ask me, how am I not married yet?
Yeah, right. But so, okay, I got it now. It's BDS. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like an affliction.
Something
but
dirty.
BDS is.
It sounds a little no.
Oh my gosh, no! It is. You're just
that's
one
not
letter
this
off.
Kind of,
I was
going to
go
this
with
kind of podcast. You guys.
Brocka's Digital Services. On Mondays. No.
That's a totally different lifestyle that I am not introducing to my clients.
Okay, so here's my problem with clutter and stuff, right? Okay, so
it takes up mental space
and
does. Physical space.
It does, but I wouldn't call myself a hoarder, but I would say that I'm very sentimental. Okay. So opposite of what your issue is there, right? So I'm sentimental, but I'm also incredibly disorganized.
Okay.
So it's like I get it from both sides now, you know?
Well, there is a way to keep all of everything.
Yeah, with the BDS.
But if you are well organized and if you are well organized, you can store it well.
I've tried.
And then you can also
when I get organized,
find it.
It's for 5 minutes. And then I'm back to chaos. At work, at home, it doesn't matter. So your
well, there's
services,
a way to separate it. Okay, I'm thinking physical, tangible. There's no way for you to be organized and also chaotic at the same time. If all of your organization, like a man's toolbox in the garage, that's all out there in the toolbox.
Yeah, you should see my garage.
You haven't brought that into the home. There's a way to keep things separate. Like a kid's playroom. They have all their toys and their room destroyed. That doesn't mean they get to bring all that stuff out into the living room and destroy the adult space.
Right.
Some parents allow that. I don't agree with that.
No.
Kids are not allowed to take over the whole house.
Thank you.
Anyhow.
What's this thing doing on the stairs?
So you can keep chaos simultaneous to organization and calm. I believe they can coexist.
I'm a loss.
Keep all that nostalgia and organization in the garage, in the Tupperware, well labeled to reference later when you're having those moments of reflectiveness.
I'm a lost cause is the bottom line. Tell us about the time you spun out on the interstate.
This was the scariest moment of my life. I had a guardian angel. One of my 3 interactions with my guardian angel.
Oh, wow.
So I was going up 75, which is the main freeway in Dallas. I was going north. It is a 4-lane freeway, 65, 70 miles per hour. And this white van in front of me slammed on on his brakes. And so I jerked the wheel, as most people do, to avoid rear-ending him. But I jerked so aggressively that I just started spinning my car. And I think time did freeze. And the whole time I was spinning out, I just had this calm aura come over me. And I kept hearing in my head, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And when the car stopped, I was facing oncoming traffic in the opposite direction. All 4 lanes had stopped, like staring at me. I'm on stage here. This is my little spin out. And so I see that, and I just go into, action, put the car had knocked itself into neutral. So I put it back into drive, make the 180-degree turn facing the correct direction, drive home, come into my apartment, lie down in the living room floor, and bawl my eyes out for a good 15 minutes because after the moment, then is when your heart starts racing. Right. Then that fight or flight, that adrenaline catches up to time freezing, and you feel it all rush. And I did. I just laid in my floor and cried for about 15 minutes and thanked God. So I went from I'm okay to thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord. And it was so bizarre. It was so bizarre.
So what were the other 2 times?
One time I was in Paris and had stayed very late at a nightclub and came out of the club and was walking back to my hotel by myself, which was not a smart choice. Came upon these 2 guys that was walking on a concrete structure that had concrete pillars. And so they kind of came out from behind one of these big concrete pillars to catch me and trap me in sort of a little concrete structure. And then this guy from the other side of the street just screams out randomly, hey, do you want a cigarette? It was so bizarre. And I thought, first of all, we're in Paris. And how does he know that I speak English? He just screams out, hey, do you want a cigarette? And it was this blonde guy standing under a light pole. I mean, it was all very cliche where the light like cast down on him and he's leaning against the pole smoking a cigarette. But he's just screaming out, hey, do you want a cigarette? I have a cigarette. It was just so really random. It had nothing to do with the moment.
Right, it just shocked
But
the
he
guys?
just shocked these 2 guys.
Nice.
And so they kind of like scatter and run behind me, and I turn around and the blonde guy with the cigarette is no longer there.
Wow.
So it was just, but I knew it. I just knew that had to have been an angel in the moment because he was there and then he was not. And I had not been smoking a cigarette. He didn't know that I spoke English. It was just, there were so many things about the situation that felt very, just felt right.
Divine intervention?
Divine intervention. There we go.
Okay.
That is the term.
And third encounter?
I can't just discuss it right now.
Understood.
So, yeah.
So what prompted you to learn American Sign Language?
So that came from the elementary school I went to. It is mandatory to learn it there. It is still mandatory to learn it. Right in the heart of Dallas is the elementary school. It was at the time called Stonewall Jackson, but we have changed the names of controversial figures. Mm-hmm. It is now just named after the street that it is on.
Oh, how creative.
So, I know. So uncontroversial.
Depends on what's the name of the street?
Mockingbird.
Wait a minute. To Kill a Mockingbird has been banned for no good reason whatsoever.
Devastatingly, it is my mother's favorite book ever.
It's the only book I've read twice.
She would be so sad to learn this
Seriously.
if she were still alive.
It makes no sense at all.
Exactly. So, no, this particular elementary school caters to blind kids, deaf kids, all sorts of mobility issues, having teachers that teach sign language, having just the faculty that caters to that type of difficulty in life. From kindergarten, it's mandatory on your report card. That's one of your classes is learning American Sign Language.
Cool.
So I grew up learning
it. And still you can do it today?
Yes.
Good
I
for
can.
You. Do you have to keep practicing it to do that?
Some of the things are muscle memory. It's like going to the gym or doing massage or riding your bike. A lot of things that we learn are real muscle memory. And when you've done it for so many years, it's just there.
Did they teach you like how they came up with certain motions for like who came up with this means
like
the sun?
Yeah,
this
the
means...
broad definition
Yeah.
of one word. A lot of things look logical.
Yeah,
like this is
sometimes.
tree. So
She's holding her hand up. It's resting on her other hand.
yeah, resting on her
I
forearm.
guess it's a tree. I don't know.
So, and it's interesting because you go, like if you go to another country and we have the FU sign with the middle finger, you can see hand gestures and body movements that are aggressive or,
okay.
you know, cuss words and so forth. I mean, there's some stuff is intuitive, some stuff is bizarre, but that's like a lot of language. So
okay, now if you could go back in history, you say you'd like to meet Cleopatra or Queen Elizabeth I.
Well, Cleopatra, because nobody knows what she really looked like. There is maybe one coin, and you can see from her profile that she had a very Roman nose. But I just want to know, how freaking gorgeous was she really? I mean, let's get to the truth of the matter. This woman that had so much power.
So that's
How
seriously
stunning.
that's your reason to go back.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
just
you want
wanna
to
see
meet
what
her.
she
I just
looks
want to
like.
see her. Okay.
Yeah, and I love Egyptology. That was that was something that I delved into before I got into the history of the Crusades. I've got the books and went the podcast route and audiobooks. That's just another bit of history that's so curious to me.
So who built the pyramids? Was it the aliens? It's the aliens,
Right.
wasn't it?
Right.
Right? No, it wasn't.
I
You think the story is accurate? That's just the slave labor and all that good stuff.
yeah, and there's a lot of engineering.
Yeah.
So it's really physics and engineering.
Okay.
It is controversial. It is
No, it's
controversial.
not controversial. I mean, I'm
I
just
think-
curious. Doesn't change my life either way.
Right, but I think that the knowledge that they had at the time, we think that they didn't have because they're so far back in our history, our brains can't wrap ourselves around. It's just proper engineering, and they had the science at the time. So, but again, slave labor too. So let's not minimize that. Thousands died a day, and that's what's happening in Dubai now. It's just that's how they built that city.
So we can build the pyramids long ago, but we have bridges collapsing, you know.
That tells you about the people we put in office. Not, we need to hire the right people to do the job. Again, that goes back to the one person that decided on the career path and made it their mission to do well on that path. The doctor, the scientist. We've got the engineers, we've got the architects, we've got the intelligence, we have the physics and the science. It's the people that implement that or hire the wrong people to do the job.
Right.
And if we could simply fire people for being terrible at their job, we would not be in the problem that we are in as a country.
Right. I understand.
Just being able to fire people for not doing their job. Can we get back to basic principles here?
A meritocracy no more. So
Administrative state is what it is.
yeah. So we touched on one of your embarrassing moments with that stage performance earlier. What about this debate class situation? What happened there?
Getting up in front of a whole classroom and spelling a word incorrectly. I don't know why. I find that particularly traumatizing.
So wait a minute. Have you ever done a spelling bee? Because I've been there.
I was a queen of spelling bees.
All right. Look
Queen
at you.
bee, spelling bee. So that's why this bothered me so intensely. Again, going back to, in a way, having to raise myself. My mom wasn't very particular about being disciplined about homework and schooling and getting straight A's or anything. And so these moments where being traumatized for misspelling a word, that instilled in me, okay, I need to read more. I need to investigate this further and just sort of take myself down the discipline of education.
Okay.
Yeah.
So So what word did you misspell?
Ridiculous. I spelled it R-E-D instead of R-I-D.
And that's bugged you ever since.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I have never misspelled that word incorrectly since.
I might be able to make you feel better about that because I won the spelling bee championship at my school. It was 4th and 5th graders, and I was a 4th grader. I remember that. And I ended up representing our school at the county level.
Okay.
And my first word that I had never seen before in my life, which now it's just...
That's how they trick you.
Right. But this is like the easiest stupid. This is just stupid. Oxen. I only use the word ox in my life.
Okay.
So how did I spell the word oxen?
Well, first I would say, can you please use that in a sentence?
Sure should have done that. No. I went right to it. And I'm like, oxen? O-C-C-S-A-I-N, almost like occasion. Oxen. Oh, no, sorry. You have to go back to school now, even though it's, 9:15 a.m. You're out.
Immediately.
Oh,
You're the first.
And I'm like, what? It took me forever to figure out what word was that? Oxen?
Oh, another word that I misspelled, I think was like...
So that stuff bugs
skeet.
you forever.
Yes,
I mean,
it
I'm still
does.
bugged by that experience.
Skeet.
Skeet.
Skeet was another word
Okay.
that I'm just like, it sounds like it should be this way, but it's another way.
So wait, I
And then you
say,
overthink because you're
Yeah.
over analytical.
Is it SKEET? So what did you have to spell?
EAT.
You don't
or
remember what you said?
something.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Right.
I did the spelling bee every year, and I remember the last year that I was knocked out was it was 8th grade. So I made it all the way through elementary
Okay.
and didn't really lose my standing until about 8th grade. But I was reading. One thing my mother did love to do, we would go to the big Dallas Public Library in downtown. But I was reading like Danielle Steele books when I was 12 years old.
Oh, no.
So, yes.
Danielle
I
Steele.
know.
No. Wow.
Like, it's funny when a parent is trying to shield their child from seeing something like overly sexed or overly horrific on TV, and they're like, shield your eyes or leave the room.
Right.
But when you're reading a book, you don't know where your child is in the story, and that romantic scene is coming up, and you can't skip over those few pages.
Oh, gosh.
You're not really adulting in those moments.
Not really adulting. Okay, now, I mean, you list something that you want to accomplish in your lifetime is publish a book. So
Yes.
What is it going to be about?
I want it to be narrated by a few different voices so that the chapters will alternate between the different narrators, and most likely a few women of different generations. And even though they're living in different time periods, they are experiencing very similar things.
Oh, wow.
And so then it all kind of comes full circle,
Very historic feel
bringing
to it, huh?
bringing their lives together in a way.
Okay.
I mean, the idea is out there. It's been done numerous times, but I have different stories for each of these women, and I'll just put my own.
You got anything written down somewhere or typed up?
Oh, I have
waiting for you to get to it?
I have 3 ring binders of
Nice.
stuff.
I like it. I like
That's
it.
my organization.
Okay.
It's just I'm more tactile, and I like
Me too.
holding things and seeing things tangibly, and so
And that's why, for example, the show that I
With-
produce, Pat Gray Unleashed
Uh-huh.
on the Blaze, I have to print out
yes,
the show prep.
Right.
I don't do the electric. It's just the
So
the
my-
digital stuff. I just don't do.
right. Like the blog, when I sit down and do that, I usually just knock that out in an hour or two, and that's in a Word document, and then I copy paste it into my blog. But as far as this other more involved writing, I'm writing it out on paper. I've got the chapters separated. I've got manila folders that are labeled
See,
for
you're
the
ready.
chapters.
Yeah, you're ready to go.
And different themes that I'll put in each
well, get
story.
on that.
I know.
Well,
Anyhow.
I hope it works out. You
It's
be
the-
sure to let me know when you get that.
Oh,
published.
you'll know.
Cool.
So I'll be talking about it as I blog and
Nice.
and social media, all that good stuff.
That's
so.
ibrocka.com. ibrocka.com.
And on Twitter.
And on Twitter, just
at ConserveXX.
Yeah, well, how'd you get that?
I was about to say you didn't ask me about that.
How did you get that?
It's such
handle?
a mashup, isn't it?
Oh no.
So
I'm afraid to ask too many questions
know.
about this one. It's kind of like the BDS.
Oh boy.
Business plan.
No.
ConserveXX.
Yeah.
Is your Twitter handle?
Because I'm a little conservative and a little not. And when I first, I got on Twitter, and it's really beginning inception. I have a friend of mine is out in Santa Barbara, and he's into all the tech and Silicon Valley culture out there, and he's the one.
March 2009 for you.
Yeah, he's the one that told me about it. And so there were very few of us on there at the time. And I initially got on to promote my dessert business. I was following a lot of mommy bloggers and dessert bloggers and food reviewers. And so it was all food and travel for me. And then when journalists and famous people got on Twitter, everything changed. And it got political and wacky. And so I have had so many iterations of my own personality up on Twitter since I've been there since 2009.
Well, yeah,
and
we've
seen
gone
it
through
evolve in so many ways. Yeah, it was foundationally, I'm a little conservative. I mean, that's my values and morals and so forth. And then a little not. And that's not provocative. It's just, we're more than one-dimensional people. So my Twitter handle is ConserveXX.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it makes sense to me, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. That's right. Anything we haven't covered here? Oh, what's in your Amazon cart right now?
Oh, my goodness. So I have subscriptions to different supplements that I take.
I could see because I never sign up for, hey, you want a recurring? No, I don't want recurring, but I could see how that would be a smart move.
And then I'm such a neat freak. Clean freak. I buy lint rollers by the dozen.
But you don't have any pets. Where's all this lint coming from?
I have hair and laundry and lint, and so
you make sure that you're not.
I do, and so I buy lint rollers by the 12-pack.
Nice.
And they're the industrial kind. They're the kind that your tailor would use.
Oh yeah, okay.
Not the cheapy plasticky. They're in the metal handle, man.
Wow.
They're hardcore.
This is some serious.
I am a hardcore clean freak.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a baseboard cleaner.
Wow, you have got to help me declutter my life.
Yeah.
All right.
When I get down in the floor to stretch, I'm like, I think I could vacuum.
Oh no, you need to relax.
I do.
Well,
it's
thanks
cool.
so much. Keep us updated on your progress with all this stuff, and let us know what career path you eventually land on. Okay.
A few.
All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This has been so fun.
Thanks, Brocka. It's been a blast.
Thanks.
It's going to be interesting to see what the next chapter holds for Brocka, and I look forward to seeing what comes next in her story. Now, looking ahead to our next episode, we're going to be sitting down for a conversation with my friend Kay Smythe. Chances are you've seen her all over the place, whether doing live hits on news channels talking about current events, or perhaps you've read her writing somewhere on one of your favorite news websites. She tells us about her story that begins in Wales, heads to Los Angeles, and then ends up in North Carolina. That is our next episode of At the Mic. Until then, I hope you can take a moment to rate and review this podcast 5 stars over at Apple iTunes or Spotify. Please tell your friends and your family who need some good conversations in their world, this crazy world. I hope you will at least spread the word to, let's say, 3 people. What do you think? Can you tell 3 people? We would be so grateful. Feel free to drop us a note through the website atthemicshow.com. And don't forget, there's merchandise available through atthemicshop.com. But before you do anything, please go be free. And thank you for listening.
This has been At the Mic with Keith, an independent podcast production. Head to atthemicshow.com for archived episodes, sponsor information, and ways to connect.